Picks and props for the Super Bowl. We've got a couple of experts who are going to give us their very best. Sure, we'll pick the game against the spread. We get a pick on the total. But we've got a bunch of player props that we're going to get to for the Bengals and Rams. And this is the first Super Bowl without a top 3 seed in NFL history. The Rams were here just a few years ago. They had Jared Goff. They lost to the Patriots in the lowest scoring Super Bowl of all time. Hopefully we'll get a few more touchdowns in this one than we did in that one. Let's get those picks and props from the Pick Six podcast, John Breech, and the Wizard of Odds, Kenny White. And let's start with a Bengals player prop to go over. Breech, I'll let you start here because you're on Joe Mixon, and I'm surprised that the receiving prop is as low as it is right now.
Yeah, this number I thought was incredibly low. It's only at 26.5 yards, and I am taking the over on this one. Look, Joe Mixon has gone over this number in 5 straight games. And one thing that those games have in common is that Joe Burrow's facing a lot of pressure. We saw him get sacked 9 times against the Titans, running for his life against the Chiefs, even though he got sacked once. And when Burrow's facing pressure, Joe Mixon is kind of his outlet guy. He's his check down guy. And as we've seen the past probably 6 weeks, Burrow's been playing smarter football. He has no problem making the check down pass. So I will be surprised if Joe Mixon doesn't get at least 30 yards. And so I think he's going to hit this 26.5 over pretty easy.
Yeah, I'm going to go with a Joe Burrow prop here. I'm going to go over his interceptions. It is a half. I'm laying $1.20 to go over a half an interception. And, John's right. He's been under pressure. He's going to be under a lot of pressure from that Ram front four in this game. So looking at the numbers, and you mentioned Jared Goff taking the Rams to the Super Bowl back in 2018. That was his 3rd year in the league. Goff completed 65% of his passes that year, 4,700 yards, roughly 8.4 yards a pass, 32 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. Almost identical stats to what Burrow had this year. Only completed 70% of his passes. That was the one category he did far better than Goff. Goff did throw an interception in his first Super Bowl game. Mr. Burrow has thrown an interception in 7 of his 9 road games. If that trend continues, this prop should be minus 350, not minus 125. And I don't expect it to continue at that high of a rate, but still, big difference from minus 350 to minus 125.
And he also has an interception in each of his last 2 playoff games, Kenny. Really good defense that he's facing. So over a half of an interception for Joe Burrow. How about a Bengals player prop to go under, Breech? Even though we saw Joe Burrow running some last game and running successfully, about 25 rushing yards, he's only gone over 11 yards 3 times this season.
That is correct, Hassel, and that is why I'm taking the under on Joe Burrow's total rushing yards, which are set at 11.5 right now. You know what? I think what happened is that the odds makers watched what happened in the AFC title game. They got spooked. They said, we got to make this a high number. We can't let Burrow beat us with 2 6-yard runs or 25 yards like he did against the Chiefs. That is very uncharacteristic of Burrow. He does not like to run. He will do anything in his power not to run. And so, like you said, he only went over 11.5 yards 3 times on the entire season, including the playoffs. So I do not think that we'll see Burrow try to run more than once or twice. And even if he runs it twice, I do not think he'll hit 12 yards. So I like the under here.
Yeah, that does look like an overreaction in the market from one game to the second game. I'm going to go under Joe Burrow's passing yards in this game, 273.5. Breaking down the games home and away, and this is a true road game for Cincinnati, even though they're listed as the home team. On the year, Burrow throws 6 less passes per game in the road games, and he averages 41 less passing yards in those games, just 250. That is his median on the year. And that's average against all 9 opponents who were not named the Los Angeles Rams, who have a far better defense than the average defense that he's faced so far this year. So I'm expecting less than 250 yards in this game from Joe Burrow.
All right, less than 250, and that's at right now 273.5. He's only gone over that once so far this postseason. On to the Rams now, and let's have a player prop that we think is going to go over. Kenny, even though Cooper Kupp's receiving yards total is high for everybody else, it's over 100, it might not be high enough.
I don't think it is. It's almost impossible to cover this guy. And Matthew Stafford and Cooper Kupp have such a good connection to each other. They know where each other is going to be, where the football is going to be. They've shown it. You can double team Cooper Kupp as much as you want. It's not going to work. He's still going to get open. He's going to get 15 targets in this game. He's going to catch probably 10 passes. He's going over 103 yards. His median on the season, 116 and a half yards. I think he goes over this easy. I know it's such a high number, but this guy's such a great player. He's the number one wide receiver in the NFL.
Yeah, I agree with Kenny that we're going to see a lot of completions to Cooper Kupp, but I also think that we are going to see at least one completion to the other team from Matthew Stafford. Kenny had mentioned earlier that he thinks Joe Burrow is going to go over on the interception prop, and I feel the same way about Matthew Stafford. So it seems like this could be a game where we see a couple of interceptions. If there's been one spot where Matthew Stafford really seems to struggle, it's when the other team is able to put pressure on him without blitzing. And the Bengals have been able to do that. I mean, they have Trey Hendrickson, who had the 5th most sacks in the NFL this year. He sacked Patrick Mahomes, tortured Patrick Mahomes in the AFC title game. And so I think the Bengals will be able to get pressure on Stafford, who has thrown 9 interceptions in his past 7 games. And that number would be 10 if Jaquiski Tartt didn't drop the easiest interception of his life in the 4th quarter of the NFC title game. If he holds on to that, maybe the 49ers are playing in the Super Bowl. So Matthew Stafford can be flustered. I think the Bengals will do it. I think he'll go over the half interception.
And Breech, I'm going to come right back to you for a Rams player prop to go under. Cam Akers rushing total, 62.5. I know he's touching the ball a lot, but he has not gotten to 60 rushing yards at all in the postseason.
Yeah, I think the Rams have been smart with him. Remember, this is a guy who tore his Achilles in July, and he is somehow playing in a game in February. He's played in games in January. The medical science doesn't make sense here. I don't know how he did it, but I do think that Sean McVay is being smart with him. He doesn't want to give Akers 20 carries or 25 carries. He knows that he's still slowly working him back in. So I don't think we're going to see Cam Akers get more than 10 or 15 carries in this game, 15 max. And so if he gets that, he still have to average just over 4 yards per carry to hit the over here. And I don't think that's going to happen. The Rams have a running back by committee. They don't go to anyone too heavily. So I am going to take the under here on Cam Akers rushing yards.
My under is going to be, I'm going to go under Van Jefferson receiving yards. Since the emergence of Odell Beckham now as the number 2 guy that Matthew Stafford's been looking for, and Beckham really rounding into shape, he's getting open, and he is a viable target for Stafford. Since that's happened, 5 of the last 7 games, Van Jefferson has gone under 34.5 receiving yards. One of the 2 games he went over, he only had 1 target. It was a reception for 41 yards. I would love him only have 1 target in the Super Bowl. It would be a sure lock winner under 34.5 receiving yards. So Van Jefferson, you're the guy out. Sorry, but you're going to be going under in this game.
Yeah, only 5 receptions in 3 postseason games so far this season. All right, Wizard, step aside. Let the big boy eat, because it is kicker prop time for the kicker's son, John Breech. What's your favorite kicking prop in this game?
Look, Hassel, we know I wouldn't have agreed to show up for this hit unless you let me do a kicking prop. I am taking Evan McPherson over 7.5 points. There is no team in the NFL that loves to kick field goals more than the Cincinnati Bengals. Evan McPherson is having an historical postseason right now. He has had 4 field goals in each game. And so that is tied for the most career 4 field goal games by any kicker in NFL history. He tied Adam Vinatieri, who played for over 20 years. McPherson did it in 1 year. So he is averaging 13.3 points per game in the playoffs. He just has to hit 8 points to hit the over here. I will be shocked if the Bengals don't get at least 2 field goals. You tack on 2 extra points here. That's 8. He'll probably get 3 field goals. You get the 9. There are a lot of ways for this over to hit, and I think McPherson will hit it.
Kenny, have you ever taken a kicker prop?
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Okay.
If there's value, I'm taking it. Doesn't matter what it is.
Well,
I'll take that prop.
I think there might be value there because for McPherson, the over-under point total 7.5. He's gone over that in 7 consecutive games. All right, let's get to game picks. Kenny, before you give your pick here, what's going on with the line movement? Are we going to see this thing sway back and forth? Could it go up 5 and above? What are we looking at?
This week, we've seen it go from 3.5 to 4.5, the total from 50 to 48.5. I think we're settled in now for probably a full week. I think it's going to be 4.5, 48.5 until at least next Thursday or Friday when the crowds start to, round out around the country into all the different sports books. And then the general public's going to take over at that point. I think you could see a little more Ram money. We could see -5 on this game. And I think we could see the total tick up maybe a half point to 49.
Do you like anything on the game line, the 4.5 right now, or are you going to stick to the total here?
My number, I have the Rams 4.5 points better. Home field, I'm going to give at least 1. So I thought the number should be 5.5. So I have very little value on the side, but I do like the total. I made the total 44. One thing John brought up about kicking and the Cincinnati Bengals more field goals than anybody. These are two coaches that believe in punting from the midfield area, 4th and 2. And they also believe in kicking field goals anywhere inside, a 50-yard field goal on 4th and 2 from the 30, 35-yard line. A lot of coaches go for it. They're aggressive. Both these coaches are identical. They're very conservative in nature. And the trends even bear it out. First quarter, Bengals are 12-6-2 under this year. The Rams are 14-6 under first quarter, 7-1 the last 8 games. So I like the first quarter under, I like the first half under, and I love the game under.
All right, Breech, what do we like here? The line's 4.5, over under 48.5.
Well, I think we know what I'm going to go with here. I love the Bengals in this spot. Seems like the storyline has been the same for every round of the playoffs. The wild card round, Max Crosby was going to destroy the offensive line. The Bengals lose. The divisional round, the Titans were going to destroy the Bengals offensive line, crush Burrow. The Bengals were going to lose, and they did crush the Bengals offensive line. But the Bengals didn't lose. And then the AFC Championship, Chris Jones was going to destroy the Bengals offensive line. They were going to lose. And now the Super Bowl, Aaron Donald and Von Miller are going to destroy the Bengals offensive line. They're going to lose. The Bengals just feel like a team of destiny right now, and I'm not picking against a team of destiny, Hassel. I think the Bengals don't just cover, but they pull off the upset and win.
All right, Bengals outright. The pick from John Breech. Wouldn't have it any other way. If they get here, you got to ride with them all the way. Unlike Pete, who, he called out Joe Burrow would win multiple titles in 10 years, and then he picked against them all playoffs long until they got to the Super Bowl. Fellas, thank you so much. Let's recap the picks from John Breech, son of the great kicker Jim Breech, who was the kicker the last time the Bengals were in the Super Bowl, and Kenny White, our Wizard of Oz. You see a bunch of player props here. They both like the quarterbacks to throw an interception. Kenny White likes Joe Burrow to throw an interception. John Breech likes Matthew Stafford to throw an interception. And that kicker prop, McPherson over 7.5 points. He's been over that in each of his last 7 games.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.